Hi, this is John Rowell for the Rowell Report. Here is the front lines update for August 30th, 2025. So there's some big updates. Basically, this is where we see the difference between the deep state map, which is a pro-Ukrainian resource, and the Russian maps. The updates from the Russian maps is coming from the Department of Defense of the Russian Federation. So anyway, let's just take a look. Here, if we go to the area of Kupiansk, I think the pro-Ukrainian blogger Denis um, made a particular video just about how the Ukrainians were stopping the Russians here north of Kupiansk. So he was all happy. Unfortunately, the Russians disagree about exactly what the situation is on the ground. According to the Russians, they are basically down here. So maybe I'm a little bit too far west. Let me try that again. So basically there'll be somewhere like, oops, um, need better drawing skills here. But anyway, so basically they are something like this, and um, they have blocked in created basically a cauldron and kill zone for any Ukrainian soldier or resource that is within the Kupiansk pocket. So this is what the um, Russian Department of Defense was putting out as far as an update. They put that update, I believe, today or yesterday. So anyway, that's pretty much up to date for what they're saying. I'm not saying that who's right and who's wrong. I'm simply pointing out that at times a pro-Ukrainian resource and a pro-Russian or a Russian resource will have big differences in what's going on the ground. So this is the first area. We got 6 more to go. So anyway, basically, here in the Barova area, um, we have, let's get to the area where there is, okay, so Malivka. So anyway, apparently, according to the Russian resource, the now where'd the cursor go? Okay, here it is. So anyway, basically, the Russians have taken this area. So actually, I believe it's a little more like this. You see, there's a swamp here. So this is like a natural barrier. So anyway, let's draw a line again. So anyway, it's something like this. Malivka, and down here you see here's another natural barrier. It looks like where the river widens. So anyway, basically they have made a thrust here into and conquered various areas. So anyway, they are making progress here in the Barova area. You can see that they are moving. Okay, here's Barova. Barova is an important city. So you can see that they are moving this way, and they're basically taking this. So they're starting to close off this pocket. So anyway, you can see they're going to head over this way. Um, and so this would close off the Barova pocket. So this, if the Russian ministry information is correct, then this is starting to close out, and this whole area here will start to become a either surrender or run area for the Ukrainian soldiers, and the Russians will begin to create like a kill zone for anything um, for Ukrainian vehicles or soldiers or you know, any fortified areas. So anyway, this is the second area. Okay, the third area will close in here. This is north of Lyman or Liman. I don't know how you want to call that. Anyway, so we got uh, kind of like this. So basically, the Russians moved towards this natural barrier, which is the river, and they filled out that area. I would imagine that if there was Ukrainians here, they would have. Oops. Let's see if I can take that one off. The Ukrainians would have left this area, and so um, I'm sure the Ukrainians are set up in a defensive line here to stop the Russians. Okay, so this is the Lyman area. So you can see that the Russians are making progress here to, and then they are going to want to continue off this way and then come down and flank these large cities. So you see Sloviansk, Kramatorsk. These are big cities, and they don't want to do, urban fighting because the Ukrainians can set up um, all sorts of defensive lines, and that would be like Vovchansk, where the Russians have had a hard time, you know, gaining territory. So, but if they can flank the city in the open areas and use the natural barriers, they can continue there. Um, so that is what's going on. That is, I believe, the third area. So anyway, near Kramatorsk, here's the fourth area of Russian advance. So um, let's take a look. I believe that their advance is more or less here. So this puts them, pretty close to Kramatorsk. So if we take a ruler and measure the distance to Kramatorsk, whoops, um, I don't think that's the ruler. Anyway, you can see that they are closing into this area by Kramatorsk. So so let's just take another look. So the Russians are entering here towards Kramatorsk, and they're going here north of this, and this whole area um, is a very populated. It's where there's a lot of businesses and factories and the multi-story buildings. So this is all going to be heavily fortified area. So what the Russians want to do is basically come around and flank on either side, and then start taking them piece by piece. So anyway, this is what we'd be looking at in the Kramatorsk area. So that's I believe what did I say, the fifth. So um, anyway, now this whole area where the thumbs up is, and it kind of bothers me that someone went out of their way to make a thumbs up on a map. You think they would, uh, you know, you could say, well, that reflects accurately where the soldiers are, but it looks like somebody, they punched a hole in the Russian front and then stuck a thumbs up. Here's the arm, the thumb, the hand, and the sleeve. So, I mean, this is obviously a thumbs up. I wonder if we're just supposed to ignore it. But anyway, apparently, um, the Russians have made uh, gains here, and they have made gains here. So you can see that according to the Russians, they are, I think I'm in the wrong spot here. Let me adjust this out a little bit. So anyway, if you take a look at this whole area, if they have these areas, basically, they're starting uh, to create this, um, pocket for Konstantinovka. So they're starting to surround Konstantinovka on three sides. And the same thing goes for Pokrovsk, that whole area. So if what the Russian ministry said is correct, then they're working very hard to close off these urban areas. The other area where they mentioned there was gains, and it's pretty much reflected here on the map, is in here. So there are some areas here. So it looks like they're making a little bit more progress here than reflected in the deep state map, but not much. But in any case, I wanted to bring all these Russian advances, to your attention. So the Russian Department of Defense has their own Telegram channel. So, and they have an English version. So you're welcome to go in there and check it out yourself. There's all kinds of details about what's been eliminated. The other thing I wanted to point out is that the Russian forces and their drone and missile attacks have been focusing in on the missile and the drone military industrial complex of Ukraine. So they've been eliminating all the different parts of the puzzle. You might have a company that makes just the part that spins, and another one that makes the metal frame, another one that makes, the electronic components, and then they put it all together in one drone. So Russia's been identifying all of these different factories. There were several factories which were hit in Kiev. One was a cooperative between Turkey and Ukraine. So I haven't heard any complaints from Turkey. I imagine they had a lot invested. But the weirdest thing is, why would you invest millions into a factory, have it out in the open, and have it as a easy target for the Russians? So that is the thing that doesn't make any sense. If they were going to make a factory, you would think that they would put it in a hardened underground facility. But anyway, that's just me. But anyway, that's my update for today. I hope you liked this video. Tomorrow there will be more updates, and hopefully the deep state map and the Russian version will get a little closer together, and we'll see who's right, who's wrong. And of course, these changes can occur from one day to another. So we'll just stay attentive to all these updates. And so I'll be bringing you more updates. And please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you back for another video. Have a great day. Bye bye.